Before you spend that quarter, take a closer look. The 1978, 1966, and 1995 Washington quarters could be worth hundreds or even thousands if they have rare mint errors or special varieties. Look for double dies, missing mint marks, or off-center strikes. Collectors pay big money for these. Check your quarters today. You might be holding hidden treasure. The 1978 U.S. Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that millions of Americans have handled without a second thought, passing it along in change or stashing it away in a drawer. But among the countless quarters struck that year, a few contain mysterious and fascinating errors that turned them into treasures of immense value. It's hard to imagine that a coin worth just 25 cents when it left the mint could now be worth anywhere from $58,000 to an astonishing $156,000. But that's the reality for collectors lucky enough to discover one of these rare minting mistakes. To appreciate what makes the 1978 Washington quarter so special, it helps to look at its design and history. The coin features the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. The words "Liberty" stretch across the top. "In God We Trust" rests to the left of Washington's face, and the date sits neatly at the bottom. On the reverse, the majestic bald eagle perches with outstretched wings, clutching a bundle of arrows above two olive branches. This design had been in use since 1932 and had become a timeless symbol of American strength and peace. By 1978, the Washington quarter had been a fixture in American life for decades. Minted in massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, however, even with advanced minting technology, errors occasionally slipped through the rigorous quality checks of the U.S. Mint. The 1978 quarters are a perfect example of how these small oversights can create rare and valuable collectibles. Among the most notable errors from that year are off-center strikes, double-die obverse errors, and the intriguing wrong planchet errors that occurred when coins were accidentally struck on metal blanks intended for other denominations. One of the most visually striking 1978 quarter errors is the off-center strike. During production, each blank coin, known as a planchet, must be perfectly centered between two dies before being struck. But in some cases, the planchet shifts slightly, causing the image to be imprinted unevenly. Depending on how far off-center the coin is, parts of the design can be missing or misaligned. Some quarters from 1978 show dramatic off-center strikes where George Washington's portrait is partially cut off, or the eagle on the reverse appears shifted toward the rim. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. These off-center quarters have been known to fetch thousands of dollars from eager collectors. Another major 1978 quarter error that fascinates numismatists is the double die strike. This error happens when the die used to stamp the coin shifts slightly during the engraving process, causing doubled images on the finished coins. The doubling is often visible on Washington's profile, especially around the nose, lips, and chin, or in the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust. These double details are not caused by damage or wear but by a genuine minting anomaly, making them highly desirable. Well-preserved 1978 quarters with strong double-die features have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and pristine examples can command prices approaching $100,000 or more, depending on their clarity and grade. Perhaps the rarest and most fascinating of all the 1978 quarter errors are the wrong planchet strikes. These occur when a blank intended for another denomination, like a nickel or a penny, accidentally ends up in the quarter press. Because each denomination has a specific size and metal composition, the result is a coin that looks like a quarter but has a different weight, color, or diameter. Imagine finding a 1978 quarter that looks slightly off. Maybe it's smaller, thinner, or even has a copper hue instead of the usual silvery tone. That could be a wrong planchet error, one of the rarest mistakes in coin production. Such coins are like minting miracles, and collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for them. In fact, verified examples of 1978 quarters struck on wrong planchets have been known to reach prices between $58,000 and $156,000 at auction, depending on their condition and rarity. The beauty of coins like the 1978 Washington quarter error is that they blur the line between accident and artistry. What began as an unnoticed flaw becomes a piece of history, a snapshot of the U.S. Mint's precision, progress, and imperfection all rolled into one. Each error coin tells a story, and every collector who holds one can feel the weight of that story in their hand. Collectors often describe the excitement of finding one of these coins as nothing short of thrilling. Imagine sifting through a pile of old change, maybe from a forgotten jar or an inherited coin collection, and noticing something odd. The date looks a little strange, or Washington's face appears slightly doubled. That moment of curiosity can lead to the discovery of a lifetime. There are stories of individuals who found 1978 quarters with subtle doubling or slight misalignments, only to learn later that their find was worth thousands. The joy, disbelief, and satisfaction that follow such a discovery make the world of coin collecting endlessly fascinating. One reason 1978 era quarters are so prized today is their scarcity. The U.S. Mint has always worked to ensure near-perfect quality, and most minting errors are caught and destroyed long before coins reach circulation. That makes it extremely unlikely for significant errors to survive. Those that do are often found by chance, preserved accidentally by people who sensed something was unusual about their coin but didn't realize its true worth. Decades later, these rare survivors resurface in auctions or collections, commanding incredible attention and equally incredible prices. Condition also plays a critical role in determining value. Coins that have remained in near-perfect condition, showing little to no wear, are far more valuable than those that circulated for years. Collectors often seek out mint-state coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services. These high-grade examples, especially when they feature bold and obvious errors, are the ones that can fetch well over $100,000 in today's market. It's not just about rarity. It's about preservation, precision, and presentation. What makes the 1978 Washington quarter such a compelling coin for collectors is the combination of historical significance, design beauty, and the allure of imperfection. The coin captures a time in American minting history when technology was improving but human oversight still played a vital role. Even the most advanced machinery couldn't eliminate the possibility of errors, and those rare mistakes are now treasures for future generations. Collectors love the Washington Quarter series because it's both accessible and challenging. Ordinary quarters from most years are easy to find, but the rare errors turn an everyday coin into a coveted prize. For many enthusiasts, hunting for these mistakes is a passion, a mix of patience, knowledge, and luck. And when it comes to the 1978 era quarter, that combination can lead to an incredible reward. That there's something poetic about how a small imperfection can create such immense value. A tiny shift in a die, a misplaced planchet, or a simple moment of human error can transform a common object into something extraordinary. It's a reminder that even the smallest details can have the biggest impact, not just in coin collecting, but in life itself. The next time you come across a 1978 quarter, take a closer look. Examine the details, the lettering, and the edges. Maybe it's perfectly ordinary, or maybe it holds one of those rare errors that slipped through unnoticed more than 4 decades ago. Hidden in its silver surface could be a story worth telling and a fortune waiting to be discovered. And if you're one of the lucky few to find such a piece, you could be holding a coin that turns out to be worth not just $58,000, but possibly up to $156,000. For a coin that started as spare change, that's a remarkable transformation. One that continues to inspire collectors across the world to look just a little closer at the change in their hands. The 1966 Washington quarter might look like an ordinary coin, one you could easily overlook in your pocket change. But hidden among the millions minted that year are a few rare pieces that tell a completely different story. Coins with minting errors so extraordinary that they've sold for astonishing prices at auctions. Some of these rare 1966 Washington quarter error coins have fetched values ranging between $64,000 and $166,000, depending on the type of error and condition. It's a perfect example of how something as small as a mistake at the mint can transform an everyday quarter into a remarkable and valuable piece of American history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of the nation's first president, George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, it became one of the most familiar coins in U.S. history, proudly displaying Washington's profile on the front and a bold eagle on the reverse. But by 1966, the mint was undergoing massive changes. Just a year earlier, in 1965, silver was removed from circulating quarters due to rising metal costs. This marked a major turning point in American coinage. The quarters made in 1966 were no longer 90% silver but instead a copper-nickel-clad composition. A decision that not only changed how the coins looked and felt but also set the stage for several unique minting errors. The transition period from silver to clad coinage was not without problems. The U.S. Mint had to adjust machinery and procedures to handle the new metal composition. These adjustments led to various striking inconsistencies and mechanical errors, some of which resulted in rare collectible coins. Among the most fascinating 1966 Washington quarter errors are those involving off-center strikes, double dies, missing clad layers, and even the wrong planchet errors, each one telling a story of imperfection and chance. Point: one of the most visually dramatic errors found on the 1966 quarter is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank coin, or planchet, isn't correctly seated in the press during striking. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted toward one side. On some 1966 quarters, the off-center strike is so pronounced that a large portion of Washington's face or the date is partially cut off, while the rest of the design is perfectly visible. Collectors love these coins because every off-center strike is unique. No two are exactly the same. The greater the degree of the off-center strike, while still showing the date clearly, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another remarkable error from this year is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the coin die itself receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, resulting in the final coins showing doubled images in certain parts of the design. On a 1966 Washington quarter, this doubling might be visible in the words, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even on Washington's eye and profile. When viewed under magnification, the doubling creates a distinct, almost ghost-like appearance that's both striking and beautiful. Coins with this error are extremely rare, and depending on condition, some examples have been valued at tens of thousands of dollars, occasionally reaching prices within that $64,000 to $166,000 range that makes collectors dream of finding one. Perhaps one of the most fascinating types of mint errors from the 1960s involves missing clad layers. As the mint transitioned away from silver, it began producing coins with a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. Sometimes, one of those nickel layers failed to bond properly, leaving the coin with a reddish copper color on one or both sides. A 1966 Washington quarter with a missing clad layer looks dramatically different from a normal one. Instead of the familiar silvery tone, it shows a warm copper hue that immediately grabs attention. These coins are not only rare but also visually stunning, which makes them extremely popular among collectors. In fact, a 1966 quarter missing its clad layer on one side once surfaced at a major coin show and caused quite a stir among attendees. The coin was authenticated and later sold for a price far beyond what anyone expected, well into the five figures. That moment marked a turning point for modern-era coin collecting, showing that even post-silver era coins could hold immense value when a rare minting mistake was involved. Then there's the rare wrong planchet error, which happens when a coin is struck on a blank meant for a different denomination. During 1966, with the mint producing multiple denominations in huge numbers, it's believed that a few quarter designs were accidentally struck on nickel or dime planchets. These coins are undersized and lighter than regular quarters but still show most of the quarter design. A fascinating and highly desirable mistake. What makes 1966 such an intriguing year for collectors is that these errors came at a time when the mint was tightening control over quality and production standards. The fact that any significant errors slipped through makes them all the more remarkable. Because of the absence of mint marks during this period, the mint temporarily stopped using them from 1965 to 1967. Identifying exactly where these error coins originated adds an extra layer of mystery. Collectors today regard the 1966 Washington quarter as one of the key years to examine closely, especially for those with a keen eye for errors. Even small imperfections can add significant value, and major ones can elevate an otherwise common coin into a museum-worthy piece. Coin grading agencies such as PCGS and NGC have authenticated several high-quality error examples from this year, confirming their rarity and market appeal. When a pristine 1966 error quarter appears at auction, it often sparks intense competition among collectors, driving prices higher and higher. Part of the charm of these error coins is their unpredictability. Each one is the product of chance. A fleeting moment when machinery misfired, or alignment faltered, or a blank planchet from another denomination found its way into the wrong press. Yet those brief mechanical accidents have created coins that collectors cherish decades later. It's a poetic reminder that imperfection can lead to lasting beauty and incredible value. The stories of discovery are just as fascinating. Some of the most valuable 1966 era quarters were found not in old collections, but in everyday circulation. People sorting through jars of coins or checking pocket change stumbled across pieces that looked slightly off. A color difference, a design misalignment, or strange doubling in the text. In a few remarkable cases, those lucky finders walked away with coins later valued at over $100,000. It's these real-life stories that keep the passion for coin collecting alive. Even now, the excitement continues. Collectors still search 1966 quarters, knowing that somewhere, another rare error might be waiting to be discovered. The thought that an unassuming coin could be worth a fortune adds a sense of mystery and anticipation to every handful of change. That's the beauty of numismatics. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth far more than its face value. The 1966 Washington quarter represents a pivotal moment in U.S. mint history, a year of innovation, adaptation, and unintentional artistry. From doubled dies to off-center strikes and missing clad layers, the variety of errors found that year continues to captivate collectors worldwide. And when one of those elusive high-grade examples surfaces, its value can soar from a few cents to an incredible sum between $64,000 and $166,000. For anyone who loves the thrill of the hunt, the message is simple. Keep looking closely. That old quarter sitting in your drawer, that coin you thought was ordinary, might just hold a hidden secret from 1966. One that not only tells a story of minting history but could also change your life with a single discovery. Because sometimes the smallest imperfections reveal the greatest treasures. The 1995 U.S. Washington quarter dollar might seem like just another common coin in circulation, the kind you hand over for a parking meter or find in spare change. But for coin collectors and numismatic enthusiasts, a few special pieces from that year hold secrets worth small fortunes. These rare error coins have turned ordinary quarters into valuable treasures, commanding astonishing prices at auctions, some reaching between $48,000 and $135,500 depending on their type, rarity, and condition. It's fascinating to think that something so small and familiar could hide such incredible value, but that's the magic of minting errors, accidents that transform everyday currency into extraordinary collectibles. The Washington quarter has a long and storied history, first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, it became one of the most iconic and widely used coins in U.S. history. By 1995, the design was deeply ingrained in American life, and the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters for everyday transactions. They were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, each bearing the respective mint marks P or D. However, amid the precise mechanical rhythm of coin production, even the slightest disruption could result in minting errors, unique flaws that caught the eyes of collectors years later. Among the most notable 1995 Washington quarter errors is the double die variety. This type of error happens when the coin die is imprinted twice with a slight shift in alignment, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. On a 1995 quarter, doubling is most often visible around the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date itself. Sometimes, the features on Washington's profile, such as his hairline or eye, display subtle duplication under magnification. To a casual observer, it might look like a blur or shadow, but to an experienced collector, it's the unmistakable mark of rarity. Depending on the clarity and extent of the doubling, such coins can fetch impressive sums. Perfectly preserved examples in high-grade mint state condition can easily reach tens of thousands of dollars, with some selling near the $90,000 mark at major auctions. Another rare and fascinating type of 1995 quarter error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet, the metal disc prepared for striking, is not properly aligned between the dies. The result is a coin that appears partially blank on one side and misaligned on the other. The degree of off-centering determines the value. Slight misalignments may bring modest interest, but dramatic off-center strikes, where 40% or more of the design is missing yet the date remains visible, are exceptionally valuable. These errors are easy to recognize, and their striking appearance makes them highly desirable for collectors. A well-preserved 1995 quarter with a bold off-center error could easily sell for anywhere between $50,000 and $120,000, depending on its sharpness and visual appeal. Equally fascinating are wrong planchet errors, where a quarter is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination. Occasionally, a blank penny or dime planchet slips into the press, producing a coin that looks entirely out of place. Imagine finding a copper-colored Washington quarter that weighs less than normal or has slightly different dimensions. It's an instant red flag for a minting mistake. These wrong planchet errors are exceptionally rare and often authenticated by professional grading services. One 1995 quarter struck on a copper planchet shocked collectors when it surfaced at auction, selling for well over $100,000. Its unique composition and error type made it one of the most sought-after coins of its time, a reminder that even a small oversight during minting can create something truly extraordinary. Die cracks, cuds, and filled die errors also appear among 1995 Washington quarters. These flaws result from wear and tear or debris during the striking process. A die crack manifests as a thin raised line running across the coin's surface, often connecting key features like Washington's face or the letters in United States of America. A cud, on the other hand, happens when a piece of the die breaks off, leaving a blank raised area where part of the design should be. Filled dies can cause letters or numbers to appear faint or missing entirely. Though these might seem like small imperfections, collectors value them for their uniqueness and the glimpse they provide into the minting process. A particularly striking die crack or large cud can significantly raise the coin's appeal and value. Then there are the 1995 quarters struck with missing clad layers. Since modern quarters are made from a copper-nickel sandwich around a copper core, an error during bonding can cause one or both outer layers to be missing. The result is a quarter with a reddish hue on one side or even both sides, showing the copper core beneath. These errors are visually striking and immediately distinguishable from regular quarters. Depending on the extent of the missing layer and the coin's condition, they can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. The most dramatic examples, especially those retaining sharp details and full dates, can easily reach values in the range of $48,000 to $135,500, making them some of the most lucrative 1995 errors known. The 1990s were a period of significant technological advancement at the U.S. Mint, but even state-of-the-art machines weren't immune to occasional flaws. High production volumes increased the chances of small misalignments or mechanical malfunctions. These random and unintentional errors are what keep collectors searching every coin jar and roll of quarters, hoping to uncover a hidden gem. In fact, some of the most valuable error quarters from 1995 were discovered by regular people sorting through their change years after they were released. Stories of lucky finds continue to inspire new generations of collectors, proving that treasure hunting can happen right in your pocket. It's not just the errors themselves that make these coins so appealing. It's the stories they tell. Each error quarter from 1995 is a piece of minting history, capturing a fleeting moment when precision faltered and rarity was born. For collectors, owning one isn't merely about profit. It's about holding a tangible piece of American craftsmanship that slipped through the cracks of perfection. It's about the thrill of discovery, the patience of the hunt, and the knowledge that even in a world governed by machines, chance still plays a role. Collectors and investors alike value error coins for their scarcity, and as time passes, these 1995 quarters become even harder to find. Many have already been graded and encapsulated by organizations like PCGS and NGC, ensuring their authenticity and protecting their condition. The best examples often come up at high-profile auctions, where competition is fierce and prices soar. For those lucky enough to own one of these rare pieces, the decision to sell or hold becomes a matter of timing and passion. For beginners looking to identify a potential 1995 error quarter, start with the basics. Examine the coin carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Check for doubling on the inscriptions, especially Liberty and the date. Look for any irregular shapes, blank areas, or unusual coloration that might indicate an off-center strike or missing clad layer. Compare its weight to a standard quarter. Differences can reveal a wrong planchet strike. Even minor irregularities can hint at something rare, and professional grading is the key to confirming authenticity. The market for mint errors is thriving, and as demand for unique collectibles grows, so does the value of coins like these. A 1995 Washington quarter with a verified major minting error can command astonishing prices. Some have sold for around $48,000, while others with rarer and more dramatic flaws have surpassed $135,500. These numbers aren't mere speculation. They reflect real transactions in a world where collectors are willing to pay for the extraordinary. What makes these coins especially captivating is how they blur the line between flaw and art. Each imperfection carries a story that's both mechanical and human, a blend of chance and craftsmanship. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet, or a missing layer, the 1995 Washington quarter error coins remind us that beauty and value can emerge from imperfection. They are the kind of treasures that turn ordinary moments, like checking your pocket change, into opportunities for discovery. And in the world of coin collecting, that moment of discovery is priceless.